Hey everybody, this is Nem, and I'm coming at you today to talk about Fru once again because that's what my life revolves around. Apparently, I've still not cleared. I'll preface that, but we should listen to what I'm about to say because we've got the numbers to back it up. What numbers am I talking about? You might ask. What numbers? I'll tell you what numbers. I'll show you what numbers. We're talking about lots of pulls, lots of pulls. This is just yesterday's metrics, but we can see. I'm going to try not to show names. Just here. Get this ad out of my way. But we can see this is an enrage wipe in 80. In 80, it said 85 yesterday, but it locked in. Well, quote unquote, adjusted, I guess, to 80 for Fru on an enrage wipe. Obviously, that's a 14% enrage out of 87 pulls that day, and 30k DPS. This is literally like if you're playing at this level, you're doing really, 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 really well on Blackmage in Fru. You've got it down really well. Most of this 80 to 100 range is going to be crit, a little bit of rotation adjustment. Like there's a couple things that aren't quite perfect, but I'm going to go over what I do to give you a framework to base your Fru experience off. Because I talk to a lot of caster players who have not brought Black Mage into Fru, who are nervous about bringing it in, or people who have done like more of the meme rotations, like the full uptime one, and stuff like that, where they scrape through. They get like a 24 parse, 25, some green, some gray, and they get the Fru experience on Black Mage. But if you are a player who wants to understand how Black Mage excels in Fru, what phases it's good at, how you can min max Black Mage in Fru, and so you kind of just have a great example of what is good, what you should be doing. That's what I'm going to give you too. So even if you don't plan on playing Black Mage, I can at least give that to you. Your PF shows double caster. That's right. Okay, so let's take a look. Yeah. So info. Let me turn this down. Hold on, because this says comms, right? We're just gonna quickly adjust this because I probably get a little salty. Not gonna lie. Okay, so when it comes to Fru, right? I do this as melee 2, but this works exactly the same as range 2. And to be honest with you, except for intermission, I think Black Mage excels at the melee 2 position very, very well. So we're going to do that. But you would do this exact same thing if you were the caster. There's a picto over here, as you can see. So let's take a look at this. How you're going to time your opener is, of course, with caster tax, right? There's a delay on caster damage reaching the target, triggering on the target, and then a delay in the target aggroing off of that damage. Because of that, the second the 5 timer swaps to the 4 timer, that's when you press fire 3. That's just the timing. You're going to do your fire 3, you're going to hit him with your dot, right? And you're good to go. At that point, you're going to amplify your swift cast, fire 4, ley lines and pot. If you need to move because you're caster, that amplifier swift cast fire 4 is where you would move over. Pretty basic stuff. We're going to use all our fire 4s until we can despair, and then we're going to get into our position. So we despair. At this point, it doesn't really matter when you Xenoglossy. Just make sure the Xenoglossy is in raid buff. So you could pop Xenoglossy, Mana Font, triple cast here, or you could Mana Font, triple cast, do some fire 4s, and then Xenoglossy. Makes no difference as long as it's in raid buffs, right? I'm going to Xeno, Mana Font triple in this example. And then we're just going to blast some fire 4s. You're going to get your flare star off. You're going to do another triple. And you're just going to get your fire 4s out. You're going to do the paradox. And then we're going to do an early despair. Right? So there's the paradox. You can see that we're going to get a stack of Xenoglossy here. And really all this is managing is this is a short phase. So you don't have time to cast any more spells. So everything has to be instant. So we're simply going to despair, we're going to Xenoglossy, we're going to transpose, and we're going to paradox. And that is your opener. In order for this to be possible, you have to meld a total of 4 spell speed materia. 4 of them. That's it. If you don't do that, it's very unlikely, unless you early pull, that you'll get that paradox off at the end. Simple as that, right? We're going to move out, we're going to do our mechanics. This is all yada yada yada. We will Umbral Soul back up to 3 charges and stay in Ice Phase. You might get tempted to swap to Fire here to do like a quick Fire 3 on next reopener. You don't want to do that. You want to get the Thunder Charge from the Ice Phase off and then swap to Fire so that you still have the Thunder to reapply it when necessary. Very, very important. So you're going to do your mechanics here. Nobody really cares about this part. This is very easy. You just blah, 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 right? We're DPS Melee 2, so we actually have an easier job than Melee 1. In this example, we're going to just move up, and we are going to get the thing. So what you do when Thancred comes back, you Thunder, you Transpose. In this example, I have a bit of a weird mitigation arrangement with this Pictomancer. I will be doing the caster addle for this mechanic from the Melee 2 position, so don't get too hooked up, like hung up on that. You can do your addle either way. Do same rotation, doesn't matter. You can addle either way. Although I do think this is easier for Blackmage to addle here rather than the second one, but we'll get to that. So we are going to addle, and then Fire 3, and now we're going to slow cast 3 Fire 4s. We're going to use our Fire Paradox, and the reason why we're using our Fire Paradox in a lot of these examples is simply to trigger the Fire 3 proc for later. It's a DPS game. That's all it is. But you will notice that we skip almost all of our ice paradoxes. That's something that is a calculated decision we'll get into later. But for now, we are going to slow cast these 3 Fire 4s, and then we're going to hit Fire Paradox. We're going to triple cast, swift cast, and do the tether movement while spamming our Fire 4s. And then this is really where the precision comes in. You'll see that we get our Flare Star off on our last instacast, and the idea here is that we're going to Despair, and then we're going to look at our Thunder Timer. Thunder Timer's at 6. We want to reapply Thunder at 3 seconds or lower, so we're going to Xenoglossy to buy ourselves time. Then we're going to reapply Thunder, and then we're going to look at Manafont's cooldown. It takes 2 seconds for the GCD outside of Leylines to allow us to cast again. So if we have 2 seconds or less on Manafont, we're not going to cast another spell. We're going to Manafont into Fire 4 right away. Otherwise, if you don't have 2 seconds left because things are delayed or whatever, you will Xenoglizzy and then Manafont. But in this case, we don't need to do that. Manafont, we're going to get 3 Fire 4s. If you don't get that, if you have to Xenoglizzy, you have time for 2 Fire 4s, and you can use your Amplifier cooldown as the metric, because you need to be in an OGCD window when this comes off cooldown. So if it's 7 seconds, we have time for 3 Fire 4s. If it's 5 seconds, you have time for 2. Okay, so we have time for 3. We're going to do Fire 4. We're going to do Fire 4. We're going to do Fire 4. We're going to Paradox. Now, realistically, what you could do here is, because we Manafont him and we have a Fire 3 proc, you don't need to Paradox here. You can just Xenoglizzy, but I specifically Paradox here for 1, comfort, and for 2, to get my Xenoglizzies out during raid buffs. That's it. So we're going to Paradox because we're not in raid buffs. We're going to use Amplifier and Leylines once we move, right? And then Fire 4s. Once we get these Fire 4s off, you'll notice that the raid buffs go out, right? Right now, we have Starry Muse right here, so we have raid buffs. We're going to do Flare Star, heavy hitting spell, Despair, heavy hitting spell, 3 Xenoglizzies in a row. 3 heavy hitting spells, all in ley line. So this is really, really great for DPS, right? Boom, no crit. Boom, crit, nice. Boom. Okay, and at this point, we have towers. What you do here is you're at 3 seconds on dot. You're going to use your Thunder Dot. You're going to transpose. Well, you're going to Swift Cast, then Thunder Dot, transpose, Blizzard 3. And then it depends. If you can slide into a tower very quickly, you can just start Blizzarding 4 right away. If it's like lightning, whatever. But in this case, this is the worst case scenario. We have to travel far away to a middle tower or a far tower, right? And it's knockback. So we don't have time to slow cast, really. So because of that, right, we'll get our transpose, our swift casted Blizzard 3, and then we're going to Paradox into the knockback, whereas normally I would like to Blizzard 4, Paradox, transpose Fire 3. We can't do that here because of the knockback, because of the way it works. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to Paradox to get into the knockback, and then start casting Blizzard 4 as soon as we get into the tower. This does sometimes clip, unfortunately, based on the server tick that the knockback lands on. It might still detect that you're moving. But we Blizzard 4, and then I'm just going to go jump right into Fire 3 because I don't have an OG CD to pop here. You see our Xenoglizzy is just slightly delayed here. We could carry over Xenoglizzy for this to get more potency on Fire 3. This is good enough. Fire 3, we're going to Paradox and move into our spot. And then this is the new Blackmage way. New Blackmage rewards you for aggression. So we are going to be aggressive in our play. We're not going to hold damage. There's really no need. We're not going to try to get a clean Umbral Soul between phases unless we literally spent Flare Star to spare and that we're just sitting there in like limbo. Then we'll do that. But because right now we have 3 Icy Hearts, we have full mana almost, we are going to just line up damage here. So literally Fire 4. You can fit 3 Fire 4s here and a Xenoglossy. We're going to do exactly that. Actually, it's going to die early, so we only get 2. That's okay. Typically, though, 3 Fire 4s and a Xenoglossy at the end of P1. That is your optimal P1. You just need good crit rate. You might be able to optimize that little like Xenoglossy carryover to make sure that you get that Blizzard 4 Transpose Fire 3 for that knockback phase. But if it's Lightning, you'll get it either way. So it is what it is. In phase 2, we open up. Now, this is going to be controversial. Some black mages like to double ley lines in P4, and when the fight was newer, I think that was optimal. Nowadays, though, I'm ley lining in P2, mostly because you get a lot of compositions that struggle in the early phases. For example, Blackmage Viper. Blackmage Viper comps, and let's pretend Dancer was a machinist, then I would absolutely recommend always using ley lines here. It does make your numbers look better if you ley lines here rather than P4. But I digress. You can do either one realistically. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to put my dot on, and then we're going to just start blasting Fire 4 slow cast. We're waiting, and keeping in mind that you should be seeing yourself as almost top DPS with a few exceptions. Get the Flare Star, the Despair, transpose into a triple cast, Blizzard 3, Blizzard 4, Swift Cast. Xenoglossy will come up right now, so we're going to use it instead of Ice Paradox. Why do we do that? Because if we skip 6 Ice Paradoxes over the course of the fight in favor of a faster Fire 4, that is a free Flare Star over the course of the fight. That's something that you can do in Ultimate, but you can't really do in a Savage. Usually, right? But because of the nature of the aggression that it rewards and they just keep blasting, find ways to keep blasting, we can skip these Ice Paradoxes. So I'm going to do that in favor of a Xenoglossy. It also helps us not overcap on Xenoglosses. Really, really great. And then we're going to do that Fire 3. We're not going to reapply Dot here because it doesn't do damage when the boss disappears. I am going to Addle here for the caster Addle, even though I'm melee too. And we are going to just finish our Fire 4s. And then we're going to slow cast Fire 4. If for some reason you have a Xenoglossy, you can end on Xenoglossy here. But my personal goals for this part is to make sure that Paradox and Fire Phase has been spent so that we have Firestarter. And to make sure that all Xenoglossies are spent. That's my goal. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to slow cast Fire 4. And once this animation goes off, you have time for one more spell. You can slow cast a Fire 4. Or you can Paradox, or you can Xenoglossy. I'm going to Paradox, or Pair of Ducks, and then we're good. Now we do the mechanic. I'm not going to Umbral Soul. That is an important part. Why can I get away with that? Because we have Mana Font coming up. I'm not going to Umbral Soul. I'm not going to reset to Ice Phase. I'm going to finish out my Fire line because we have Mana Font coming up. And now we can kind of take a break, you know? Mana Font's going to be here momentarily. Just please hold on to your horses. Bingo bango. We do the mechanical, and we're chilling. We're chilling. So when we get to this next part, we're going to Swift Cast early. After the slide, we're going to pop Swift Cast so that it comes off of cooldown in time. Right? You'll see right here, Swift Cast. And then we're going to open with Thunder. And then Fire 4, and then you have to make a judgment call because based on your kill time, your cooldown on Amplifier and ley lines will be slightly different, right? And so you really want to make sure those catch. If I see like 12 seconds left on ley lines here, I'm probably going to triple cast to make sure that I'd have no issues weaving in my Amplifier and my ley lines, and I'm just going to full send. But In this case, I don't think I'm going to do that because look, 6 seconds here by the time I insta-cast this Fire 4, and I have 2 Zenos in the bank, a third coming, I'm going to be able to buy enough time to get my ley lines out without clipping it. So there's Fire 4, there's Xenoglizzy, Amplifier, Xenoglizzy, ley lines, Fire 4, Flare Star Despair, and then we're going to do Mana Font. And that's why we didn't need to reset, because now we have our Thunder proc back, which we will need soon. But let's keep sending those Fire 4s while we wait for the mechanic. Now, if you're in caster position, this is a little different. Sometimes I use Ethereal Manipulation to go to the healer to get into my spot, but for melee, I never do. So we see the mirrors behind us. We're just casting Fire 4s. We're going to greed our ley lines up. So we see we got 2 seconds. I want to finish this cast. Sometimes you have to sprint to make this greed work, and sometimes you don't. In all of my thousands of pulls of this fight, I have wiped to greeting this 1 time. And so because of that, like, the sprint just sometimes saves that. So it's okay to safety game as long as you're confident that you can do LR without sprint, right? So let's keep going. I'm not going to sprint here. We're going to reapply our dot, triple cast. And here's the thing. We're going to skip Fire Paradox here because it serves no purpose. We already have our Fire 3 proc. It's not giving us a Fire 4 stack for Flare Star. And it's going to delay our preparation for Intermission. We want to skip GCDs that delay our preparation for maximum burst in the next phase. And we want to skip GCDs that are lower damage, right? So in this case, we're going to use the triple cast and our other triple cast and our upcoming swift cast to prepare for Intermission at this point in the fight. So we reapplied our dot, we tripled, we flare starred, we despaired, we'll transpose, we'll get Blizzard 3, we'll swift cast Blizzard 4, we'll Xenoglizzy instead of Ice Paradox, transpose Fire 3, do the mechanic, and then triple cast Addle, because we're doing weird addles, and then Fire 4, get into position for Melee 2, and our goal here, before Light's Rampant explodes, here's the thing, after this cast bar you have time for 1 spell, and 1 spell only. So it should be a Xenoglossy, a Paradox, a Despair, something instant, but I don't want to Despair before I Flare Start. So as you can see, our MP is high. That's not an option here. So what are we going to do? Well, it's very simple. We're going to slow cast Fire 4s and end on a Paradox. And that is because we also need our Fire 3 proc for what's to come. We're going to need that. Fire 3, Fire 4, Fire, and then Paradox, and now we just do our movement. Whatever it ends up being, we are north, and we're in a pretty good spot. We like this spot. We want to have 2 Fire 4s or 1 Fire 4, something like that, to be close. So if in phase 1, if we had gotten an extra Fire 4 off before the boss died, if we had gotten all 3, we would only need 1 Fire 4 here, which would be even better. But because we didn't get that at the end of phase 1, we need 2, which, you know, it is what it is. So we're going to do the mechanic, and when we reopen on this boss, we're going to reopen with Thunder, Fire 4, Flare Star, Despair, Transpose, okay? Swift Cast, Blizzard 3. That's exactly what's going to happen. So we do the mechanic. This is Friendship Stacks. Hello. Hi. We're wiggling because it's fun. And then we're going to do our Thunder, Fire. We're not using triple here. We're saving it for what's to come. That's only because I'm melee. If you're not melee and you're comfortable slide casting Intermission, you could burn a triple cast here to save the time. You could Thunder, triple, Fire, Flare Star, Swift Cast, Despair, Transpose, Blizzard 3. You could do that, absolutely, and it would be better. But because we're melee, I hold the triple. And the thing that we want to do is Transpose, Blizzard 3, and we want to get our Blizzard 4 off. We want to go back into Fire phase before this ends, and we want to do that by using a Xenoglossy. We have 2, we're going to cap 3, because we're going to use Amplifier as soon as the Intermission starts. You can't do that without spending a Xenoglossy either after Intermission starts or before. We want to do it before, optimally, so we can just burn that without it sitting there. So Transpose, Fire 3, we're going to Paradox, right? And then we're going to Xeno. Oh, but it just always comes down to missing it barely. But that's okay, because we're at 1 stack. This will be 2 stacks. We'll Amplifier for the 3rd stack, spend it. 4th stack will come in, no problem. Now, I think this is pretty self-explanatory when you're a caster, but melee is not. doing this on melee is a little tricky on Blackmage, so that's what we're going to cover. You're going to amplifier, you're going to pot, you're going to use ley lines. I do not dot my crystal here. You don't get full uptime on the dot. You get like half-ish, a little bit more than half. So I'm skipping the dot to get an extra fire 4. That's just what I do. We're going to fire 4 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me that 5th one. And then we're going to Xenoglossy, instant casts, fire 4. Come back and do Flare Star, Despair, Mana Font, fire 4 again. And then we're going to Xenoglossy or Paradox our way through this. Now, this is taking a really long time. And then we're going to struggle to target the crystal. I hate the targeting here so much. Even, like, the list is always in a different order. It's just obnoxious. You're going to Paradox as soon as you target it, though. Right? And then, or in my case, we're going to skip it this time because we already have our fire 3 stacks, so you don't need to Paradox. That's right, if you mana font it. So fire 4. We're trying to get out as much as possible before intermission ends. Realistically, it would be really cool to not be overcapping Xenos and have Flare Star and Despair done, because that would be the one situation in the fight where it makes, well, one of 2 situations where it would make sense to transpose to Ice and Umbral Soul back up. One of 2 situations. So that's what we're going for. Will we actually get it here? Oh, we will! We will get it! And then we end on a Xeno. Perfect. That's perfect intermission. So you will transpose to Ice and use Umbral Soul here only because Flare Star and Despair were both spent. It doesn't make any sense to reopen with Blizzard 3 and Blizzard 4 when we can skip it because we got our big heavy hitting spells out. So our aggression, we've been aggressive since P1. This is where we get the reward for that, is that we can skip some ice spells, right? Just boom, 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 fire, 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 right? And now what we'll do is I'm not going to transpose yet. We're going to use the Thunder proc from Ice Phase, then transpose Fire 3, and then we're going to do the caster addle there off of the second GCD. So if you are a caster, pay attention to this addle timing. It's exactly right. You're going to do 1, transpose. Oh my God, I actually messed it up. You would wait till the second GCD is spent, wait for it to be half charged, then addle. But I digress. It just means addle's going to fall off here. We're going to use fire 4s to just continue blasting as hard as possible to get into UR. We're making great time. We're doing great things. We're doing Blackmage. We're having a great time, right? And then we're going to Flare Star. Now, here's the tricky part. We get our 6 stacks. We're going to Paradox after Flare Star because it's an instant. Again, it's a DPS loss to, like, interrupt things, and you'll see me do it sometimes, but be like instacast, slowcast. That causes a DPS loss over time because of the delays. If you can chain instant cast together, it's much better for you. So that's why we're going to Flare Star, then Paradox, then Despair, do our buff, transpose, right? We're going to Thunder, transpose, and Swift cast, slow cast. The reason why, so this is important to notice. The reason why I'm slow casting some of these spells is because I had time to hang out. If I had to move right away, I would have transposed, triple casted Blizzard 3, Blizzard 4, Xenoglossy, transpose Fire 3, yada, 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 right? Paradox, you know, use your Xenos, use your last triple to do all the movement. So it is going to change depending on, you know, which position you get. So that's a little tricky. But essentially, if you get 20 seconds, if you get ice 30-second fire, so the south position, or 20 seconds, the east position, you're going to have more time to do some delayed casting to save your instance for later. But if you're southeast, like 10 fire, or southwest 10 fire, you've got to blast those triple casts early, and then you'll be back at the end. So there is some variance on UR to learn. But just make sure you reapply your Thunder, right? Get on out here. We're going to blast this. Boom. Done. Easy. Move back in. Not a problem. Get our amplifier. You got to make sure you spend that Xeno before the amplifier comes up. That'll take some practice. Watch the Thunder dot. We're trying to get Flare Star out in time. We are moving out for this. And then here's the thing. I safety gamed it here, but if you do it correctly, you can get an extra GCD out here. Unfortunately, I don't have an instacast and I have a Flare Star up. So what I could have done is not safety gamed, click Paradox just in time as I'm like doing a swipe to look the other way. And then after this reopener, you'll see that we reapplied our dot. I would just despair to get into position and drop ley lines for Flare Star, Xenoglossy, Manafont. That's what you would do every time. But we're teleporting. We safety gamed, so it is what it is. We're going to Paradox. We're going to move ley lines, Flare Star. Everything's a little jumbled here, but that's okay. We're going to Xenoglossy to get rid of some stacks. And then we're going to do the same thing we always do, which is a bunch of Fire 4s. We're just Fire 4ing all day. We're watching the Thunder Dot. We want to reapply the Thunder Dot in raid buffs. We have Starry Muse for 5 more seconds. Will I do it correctly? Yes, I will. Amazing. We skip Paradox there. Swift Cast Transpose Blizzard 3 into position. Blizzard 4. We're going to Paradox Transpose Fire 3. Now, why did I ice Paradox here? I ice Paradox here because I'm thinking about the movement coming up is pretty heavy, and I wanted to save my Xenoglossies in case I need them. You could be greedier and skip that ice Paradox and just Xenoglossy right here. And in fact, if you're going to overcap on Xenos, that would be the move as well. But since we're not overcapping on Xenos because we used one in ley lines, that's what I chose to do here. So we're slow casting, we're checking our buff, we're 10, we don't flex because melee 1 has the other 10. We slide over, and then here we go. Get ready for it. We're going to Xenoglossy. Boom, Xenoglossy. Boom, Xenoglossy. Finding the safe spot. Checking the Thunder Dot. This is where you would reapply it, but I triple casted instead. 2 Fire 4s. And now we reapplied a little late. That's all right. And then we're going to move in Flare Star, Despair. Swift Cast is almost up. Transpose, Swift Cast, Blizzard 3. Do we have time for Blizzard 4? No, we do not. So we're going to Xeno, and that's because we messed up earlier. Xeno, moving in. Paradox, because we still need to move in. And then Blizzard 4. Addle into Fire 3, Paradox. Now, here's the thing. The boss dies at 20%. You can start holding and preparing to have like a really strong opener on P4. No. We are rewarded over the course of the fight for aggression. I am going to blast here. And we're going to do an interesting thing with ley lines that you might not expect. So I'm blasting. I'm literally just full sending. We're full sending. And this will lead to more Flare Stars. So it's just, more Flare Stars is good. So we're going to have an early Flare Star. I actually Xeno there just to kind of pad the parse a little bit because that's Blackmage way. You don't have to Xeno there. You can save it. But my mindset is don't overcap Xenos, which later we will. And I don't want to waste time spamming Xenos when I need to be preparing for the next phase. So I dumped my Xenos here to say that was a P4, that was a P3 Xeno. Keep that Xeno in P3. We're moving to P4 because we don't need it for movement. So we're going to calculate here a little bit. We have Thunder, we have Amplifier coming up, we have Ley Lines, we have Manafont, all these cooldowns, Swift Cast coming up. We want to get this stuff out of here ASAP. On Blackmage, I'm going to Amplifier this time because it came up first, but usually you'll find that that's not the case based on the kill time. So you might need to Thunder and then Amplifier. In any case, Thunder and Amplifier go out, right? And Ley Lines. Yes, that's right. We do not wait. We full send on Gaia or on Shiva, and that means people have to be a little aware about the HP of Gaia later, but that's okay. Very doable. We're going to Thunder, Fire 4, Flare Star, Despair, and then Manafont, and now we are full sending into more fire during this phase. Very, very powerful stuff. Look at that. Third in aggro. Amazing. That's because we're kicking ass. We're just Fire 4ing, preparing to move. And then we're going to insta-cast Paradox here. I'm going to Fire 4 as soon as we move. And you'll see our ley lines are gone. And we just need to be mindful of the potion, which we have multiple OGCD windows available here. We have our Thunder Dot. We have Despair. We have Swift Cast. There's plenty of ways to weave in this pot. I'm probably going to do it wrong because I normally do this one thing wrong. But that's okay. We switch to Gaia once she comes out and we AoE Lightning. Now you might disagree with what I'm about to show you. It's generally accepted best practice in P4 to always AoE, where the most optimal rotation for Blackmage is you only Blizzard 4 in Ice Phase, in maybe Ice Paradox or reapply AoE Thunder. You transpose and you Flare Star, and you rinse and repeat the entire time. That is a great way to push my high purple, like 85 with a wipe, into 100 parse territory. So absolutely. But you don't have to do that to meet this DPS check. And sometimes, depending on how things line up and how comfortable you are, it'll be a DPS loss because you need to do it perfectly. And if you're not going to do it perfectly, you might as well not do it at all. So sometimes I do a lot of single targeting here. We're going to Swiftcast, Transpose, Potion, Blizzard 3, Blizzard 4, and you'll see we are single targeting. Now, one of the other reasons why I single target here is because I open up so hard on Shiva at the start that I need to make up for that. I need to make sure we don't push Shiva over the edge. If I just AoE here, that's me signaling to my teammates that I expect them, the single target doers, to swap over and to make up for that. But because I don't want to rely on magically believing they'll do stuff, I'm going to do it. So we're fire 4ing, we're single targeting, and we're reapplying dot whenever it drops to 3 seconds. You'll see that we used our triple here for movement. We did not reapply our dot until now, a little late, but that's okay. You do need to reapply your dot before she jumps away, because at this time, in this moment, they are outside AoE range. Any AoEs that you cast here will not hit each other. This is not where you AoE. So what a lot of talented black mages do is they use this for their Blizzard 4, Ice Paradox, whatever window. But you need to get your dot out before that happens. We're going to just move into the middle. We're going to check HPs. We're doing Flare Star, Despair, Transpose into Blizzard 3, and Blizzard 4. And remember, when you do this the best, you'll end up never Blizzard casting B3 during here. And you see we had an HP difference on Dark where like people didn't notice that I opened up so hard on Shiva, so I did actually still have to ask them to be like, can you check HP please? And they do that. Dot's falling off. I don't reapply it right away because I'm really trying to get this HP difference fixed first. And then we're going to reapply it when I stop panicking, which I still have not stopped panicking. That's all right. Maybe we won't reapply it. I gave up. I literally gave up on it. All right, so this is where I do something that's not recommended, and I end up doing an early despair. This was out of desperation to even out the boss's HP. Realistically, you won't have to do that. You just want to do what you always do. You want to make sure that you're in fire phase. You spent your fire paradox, so you have fire proc. You have your thunder proc up for when the bosses come back, which means you want to thunder proc them before they leave in ice phase. This is one of the few instances where I noticed that dots tick after the bosses leave. Most bosses, that's not the case, but from everything I've seen and everything I've been told as well, this is actually okay to dot them leave. But yeah, so we despair early in Paradox and try to get like a fresh reset, blah, 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 blah. And now we're going to do CT, and CT is very easy. We're going to Umbral Soul up, and we're going to go to the right spot. Took me a second to get my bearings, which is unusual, but that's all right. We got here. We're going to do the wind, and I think I die here. I think I am brutally murdered here. Wah. That's right. And so what happens here is he pops the dragon after the marker. This has not happened in all the pools this day. So 20 hours of PF, and nobody made this mistake. Hold on. Did somebody leave? Let me check. Yep, they did. So I moved in because it has been safe to do all day just out of habit, but then human error happened. I was pretty upset about this. He was saying I should have gone south. Yeah, I could have safety gamed and gone south to avoid this death. But he also should have popped his dragon at the correct spot. Not over. I digress. I'm dead. I'm upset about it. Whatever. It is what it is. This is still an 85 parse, by the way, with a death in B4. Because it doesn't matter really all that much. So we're going to be dead. We're going to chill. I'm going to wait to accept this res. Some people will say that you shouldn't. I disagree. I think I'd rather not die because I have a lot of prep work to get into P5. You cannot be a black mage and be dead to the stack at the end of CT and then have a clean P5. It doesn't work that way. You need to be prepped with Fire 3, with Blizzard 4, ready to go. And if you're not, you're going to be screwed. So I delay the res. Makes perfect sense for Black Mage. Callie doesn't know what they're talking about because they're an idiot, but that's all right. We're going to move in and we're going to Blizzard 3. We're going to get everything prepped for the next phase. We also addle Gaia. I'm a little bit nervous here, but that's all right. Typically what you would do here is you're going to have 3 Xenoglossy stacks from Not Being Dead. You're going to triple cast. You're going to use Fire Paradox, Flare, Flare, Flare Star, and you're going to use 3 Fouls. And that's going to be your rotation for this point. We lost another one, boys. That's all right. And that is literally it for you. Then you'll just try to prepare Blizzard 3. You'll transpose. You'll get your Umbrals. This is the second time where transpose makes sense for Umbral Souls. You will not do it anywhere else but the 2 places we talked about. The time I did it earlier was a mistake. And now you're in P5. So you want to do a good job in P5. This is how you're going to do it. P5 is very easy. Even on Blackmage, there's a couple points that are touch and go. And if you overspend resources, it can be a little scary. But for the most part, it's not bad at all. As long as you don't get overzealous with spending Xenoglossies and triple casts. If you get overzealous, you might pay the price. The other thing, too, is that your ley lines usage, you get 4 of them. You get 4 of them in P5. That's a lot of ley lines usage. So you got to be a little bit creative on when you use them to just get them out in time. Personally, my recommendation, you either pot at the start of P5 or at the end of P5, not in the middle. So when you use your final 2 minute, that's probably the time to use your potion right at the end. But we'll go into this P5. We can kind of fast forward a little bit through this cutscene. And here we go. We're going to open up with Thunder no matter what, and we need to get into Fire, and we need to spend 2 charges of Xenoglossy, because when you haven't died, Amplifier's coming off cooldown right now, or is off of cooldown, and you have a Fire 3 proc. You're going to literally dot, Amplifier, or I'm sorry, dot, Xeno, Amplifier, Transpose, Fire 3, and then you're going to, as double caster, you're going to addle Fulgent Blade here, or you're going to hold addle for later if you're a solo caster. We have slow cast Fire 3, which is garbage. Normally you won't have that. You skip Ice Paradox. You want to get 3 Fire 4s before you move. And then you'll move, and you'll adjust your ley lines, and you'll look at where the Fulgens are coming from. We have north first. I don't even look at what's next. I just look at this one, and then I adjust because there are arrows pointing, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to maintain dot uptime. We're going to Xeno to move. We're always going to sprint during Fulgent. We're going to make sure we use Amplifier. This comes with practice. So we're using our Fire 4s, blah, blah, blah. We're going to Despair, Amplifier, Xeno, and then we back up a step because we know the next one is coming from this way. It showed the arrows. We see our Thunder Dot. We're going to have to reapply that. We Xeno to be safe. We triple. We Flare Star. I really need to apply that dot. I'm a little late on it. We're going to Mana Font, and then Fire 4, Fire 4. We're going to do some Fire 4ing. We're chilling. We need 1 instant cast here to move to the tower. You see it's over there. We're going to have Fire Paradox. I'm going to ley lines here. Believe it or not, I'm going to use ley lines here. You can use it here, or you can use it in Paradise after. I actually think I recommend using it in Paradise, but it works out really well here as well. Because again, we have extra ley lines uses. We have to get rid of them. We're going to use Despair. We're going to use Xeno and reapply our Thunder. And use Blizzard 3. Hold on, why are people leaving this group? They're just getting tired of waiting? Oh, it fell out. Oh shit, my bad. Hold on. Alright, anyways, it's back. So, we're gonna do our Blizzards, transpose Fire 3. And we're going. Fire Paradox to get into position. Now, if you're going to use ley lines here instead, you need to line it up with the marker. And you put it in front of the marker, but in line with this corner, so that you can slide cast in and out of the ley lines, okay? That's where you're going to put it. But if you don't do that, you're going to slow cast Fire 4 up until you absolutely have to move. Then we're going to use Xenoglossy. We're going to triple. We're going to move in front because we're melee. Fire 4, Fire 4. And then here, if you do ley lines here, you're going to drop them. You're going to move, like, retrace right here so that you can, again, go in and out, okay? But we have Instacast. We're reapplying our dot at 1 second. We're going to Despair. And then we're going to Flare Star. We're slow casting because we no longer have to move. And in this case, I will not skip Ice Paradox because I want this Zeno for movement later. That is a decision you'll have to make here. As for the double caster Addle, we will use it at the B in box. But until then, we are just casting Fire Force. We kind of clip here. You could use an insta cast to make sure you don't clip. I was just trying to make sure that I have my movement when I have it. So I was holding on to instants, and it's okay to do that. It's okay. But better not. We're going to Paradox. We're going to Despair. We're going to get into position. Blizzard 3. You could have Zenoed into Mana Font, but I just really wanted my movement here. And then triple cast. Here we go with the sprint. We're moving in. We're moving away. We're moving in. We're moving away. We're moving in. And we're moving with. Zeno after the amplifier. We need our dot back up. It's a little late, but there it is. And we'll have another Fulgent before long. But for now, we don't have to move. So we are saving instant casts, hopefully for this tower movement. We're a little off, so we use a Zeno and Mana Font, of course. And then just get this timing with the tower down. We're going to insta-cast, save another insta-cast. I did not use the other insta-cast. I let it clip. That's crazy. So there's still plenty of room for improvement, but you get the idea for a framework. And now this is an example of how to do the ley lines. So you see I'm second. We have our ley lines. I'll swift cast this. And then we will retrace. Do I do the retrace correctly? Not really. That's all right. But you get the idea. And then we'll finally run out of triple casts. We're in the middle, so it's okay. And we have to addle this. Reapply the dot. Do the addle. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. But unfortunately, the boss's HP is nowhere near where it needs to be. And we just did not cast during that movement to hang on to things. But again, part of that is due to our death. Our Xenoglossy stacks are a little behind because of our death in CT. That didn't happen. We could have Zenoed there. That's all it is. So use your Zenos. Use your sprint here. Transpose, triple, into the ice. My triple cast clipped here. Oh no. Oh no, triple cast clip, but that's okay. We're making up for it. So again, room for improvement. Get your dot back on. We're going to ley lines. If you haven't used your potion yet, use your potion now. This is the best spot to do it. Because you're not moving. You're just chilling. And that's really it, guys. Just burn everything that you have here. You just burn it all. I'm just like trying to find excuses to get damage out and to avoid cast bars. That's how you Blackmage in through. Obviously, we pointed out a few areas of improvement. Don't clip your triple cast. You know, don't die in CT so that you have the Xenoglossies for those areas where we dropped casts in P5. But that's the difference between 85 and like 100 parse right now on Blackmage. That's really all it is. You can do the damage. You're pumping with these kind of metrics. Use that as your framework for how to play Blackmage and through. This is not a perfect example, but it's pretty damn good. And so it is very, very reliable for you. That's it. That's how it's going. So again, I haven't cleared yet, obviously. And those few mess ups could help improve it a little bit. On that wipe, what ended up happening is dance partners on Picto instead of Blackmage. Blackmage is 4,000 DPS higher than the second highest DPS in that pool. In that pool, Picto's second DPS, I'm 4,000 higher and I don't have dance partner. So it's one of those things where like, just put dance partner on the Blackmage in the phases. Blackmage is good. Allie. You know? And also, the second thing that went wrong, besides Dancer not knowing their dance partner prio, is the melee limit break was late. So if both of those things had been correct, we would have cleared. But now I sit here still clearless because people don't know what they're doing. But that's okay. We're close. We're close. It's just one of those things where, you know, sometimes even the most experienced helpers are the biggest memers. You know, I mean, not moving dance partner after P3, keeping it on Picto, so brainless. You know what I mean? And that's because, like I always say, people look at the balance for their dance partner prio. The balanced dancers do not typically know what they're doing, or they do not They do not give information on context. So this is Ultimate Dance Partner. Dance Partner in Ultimate is different than Savage. During burst windows, Picto is better to have buffs on than Blackmage, but Blackmage is a sustained damage dealer, which means you would not put Dance Partner on the opener on Blackmage, but Blackmage is better than Picto on the second half of P1. Blackmage is better than Picto in P2. Blackmage is not better than Picto in Intermission, but Blackmage is better than Picto in P3, P4, and P5. So it's one of those things where if you know what to do with your buffs, it'll be okay. Dancers just typically don't know anything, unfortunately, and that's okay because this is the rank 5 dancer and they don't know. You know what I mean? They're rank 5 on Fru and they don't know what they're doing. I think that's hilarious, and it's just because they're a little bit parse brained rather than clear brained, and you know, I have no problem calling them out on that. But anyway, melee LB dance partner. This could have been a clear. This is pretty much how it goes every single day. You just suffer in silence until you get a clear, or you be loud about it. But that is how you play Blackmage in Fru. That is your template. Thanks for listening to my soapbox. Thanks for watching this, and hopefully it helps you understand the power of aggression that has been built into the Blackmage kit with the changes, so that you really can just keep blasting all day, every day. And as the fight gets longer, you get stronger, so that in P5, you will be the king of the castle. But for now, that's me, that's Nem. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.